Boobs, please. My boobs are right here, but if you want to, do you follow me where you should follow me on OnlyFans?
Online, she was Courtney Taylor, a sun-kissed influencer living the high life, flashing luxury cars, designer clothes, and lavish vacations to millions of followers. But behind closed doors, a darker story was unfolding.
Do you like to be fully controlled, or do you?
I like to be submissive. Yeah, in the bedroom,
Yes.
but like in my life, I don't like anybody to tell me what to do.
One that ended with a frantic 911 call and her boyfriend, Christian Toby Obumseli, fighting for his life in their luxury Miami condo.
What is his name?
Christian Obumseli.
What's his name?
Do not
Why are
move.
you yelling at me?
Do not move.
Why are you yelling at me?
Do not move. Sit down.
Okay, but
we don't know what's going on. We don't know what happened.
I'm terrified
So
for him.
right now, yeah, don't worry. They're helping him.
What really happened between Courtney Clenney and Christian Obumseli? Was this a desperate act of self-defense, or the final blow in a harrowing pattern of domestic violence? Courtney and Christian's story started off like something out of a travel vlog. They met in mid-2020, amid the dreamy beaches and nightlife of Tulum, Mexico, and immediately hit it off. Back home in Austin, Texas, Courtney's star was rising fast. Her modeling and OnlyFans accounts were bringing in staggering amounts of money. Christian, however, was dealing with the stress of losing his job during the pandemic. Despite their differences, their chemistry was undeniable, and by late 2020, the two were inseparable. Hungry for more adventure, Miami, Florida, called out to them. In January 2022, they rented a lavish 3-bedroom in the One Paraíso Tower, a plush waterfront high-rise boasting panoramic bay views, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows, designer furniture, and a rent soaring around $10,000 a month. They seem to have it all.
How much do you make a month?
A lot.
Yeah, we make good money.
Courtney's OnlyFans income was skyrocketing, over $900,000 in 2020, then $1.8 million in 2021. Christian, dabbling in cryptocurrency and assisting as something of a manager for Courtney's travels and shoots, settled into the role of supportive partner. But then, beneath the curated photos and VIP parties, tension simmered.
Christian, you're fired.
Fine.
Hopefully, shut up.
You will never see me again. You are the most
Good, bitch. Good.
motherfucker I ever met in my life.
Hopefully, you will let me.
Courtney.
Fuck you too. Get the fuck out of here.
Soon after their move, neighbors began hearing disturbing noises from apartment 2201, loud crashes, shouting and screaming matches late into the night. It became clear to building management and security that their glamorous new residence had serious problems.
So we asked her, I said, do you want him to leave the property? She said no, she don't want him to
I
leave
did
the
not say
property.
that. I said yes.
Hold on.
No, but this.
Hold on. He's talking. Then you talk.
Let him speak.
Let him speak. Nigga, your turn.
Courtney, according to people who knew them, had volatile mood swings, often intensified by alcohol or drugs. Christian, despite his tall stature and strong build, rarely fought back. Friends described him as gentle and submissive. On February 21st, 2022, a security camera captured Courtney violently attacking Christian inside their building's elevator. The footage showed her repeatedly hitting and pushing him, while he tried only to block her blows and calm her down. Prosecutors would later point to this incident as undeniable evidence of Courtney's aggression. Her defense lawyer, however, argued the video lacked context, insisting there was more to the story. Private text messages revealed Christian's mounting desperation. In one haunting message, he asked Courtney outright, "Is love going to kill me?" He spoke of being slapped so hard that stitches in his face reopened. He talked about being stabbed in the past, forced out of their apartment multiple times, and constantly apologizing even though he was the one being hurt. Secret recordings further revealed Courtney verbally abusing him with hateful racial slurs and threats.
Get off of me! You literally talked to her without telling me! Courtney, I was on a bike ride and she passed me and I said, hi, you and Courtney are having a live chat. My bad, I forgot to tell you that. That doesn't make you to act and call me a
Despite frequent breakups and fights, Christian and Courtney kept returning to each other. On April 1st, just 2 days before the fatal event, Miami police responded to their apartment after another heated argument. Courtney had visible bruises, claiming Christian caused them.
My boyfriend and I just got into like a loud argument.
So you called once again for what? Why did you call for help?
Because we were getting really loud. We were getting loud. And I was like, oh my God, we're gonna like do damage to the room or something. Not damage to each other. Like I really want to like.
Why would you think?
That.
Why would you think that you were gonna do damage to the room?
I like throwing something or like.
Then came the afternoon of April 3rd. Christian stepped out briefly, returning to their apartment at 4:33 p.m. with sandwiches. Within minutes, the situation exploded. Neighbors heard shouting, a commotion that quickly escalated out of control. Courtney was on the phone with her mother, screaming accusations at Christian. Suddenly, the call disconnected. At 4:57 p.m., a desperate 911 call was made by Courtney herself.
I can't feel my arm.
3101.
I can't feel my arm.
Ma'am, my boyfriend is dying of a stab.
Ma'am, what is the address?
What's that? What's the address, baby? 3131 Northeast 7th Ave. Please, God, please. If you have a stab wound to his shoulder, sit down.
What do you mean he has a stab wound on his shoulder, ma'am?
Yes, he's bleeding from his shoulder.
Rescue, this is PD Physician Juliet. You call it, ma'am, hold on one moment. I call it Vice Address 3131.
In this 911 call, Courtney Clenney is frantic. She is heard screaming, at one point even apologizing to her boyfriend, Christian Obumseli. We even hear his voice, what appears to be his final words.
When police arrived minutes later, the scene was gruesome. Blood covered the floor, the walls, and Courtney herself. Christian lay unconscious, bleeding profusely from a single deep stab wound to his chest. A bloody kitchen knife lay nearby, its blade matching the deep, forceful wound to Christian's torso. Courtney insisted she'd thrown the knife from a distance after being attacked, but police quickly grew skeptical. The medical examiner later confirmed what detectives suspected. The wound wasn't the result of a thrown knife, but rather a direct, deliberate stab at close range. Initially, Courtney avoided immediate charges. She was briefly hospitalized under Florida's Baker Act for mental health evaluation. Outraged and grieving, Christian's family pressed authorities for justice.
They flew in from Texas, unfortunately learned of his death when a medical examiner contacted them requesting permission to donate the organs. All they're looking for is justice. We know the suspect that was involved in this incident has not been arrested.
Many questioned if Courtney's wealth, race, and influence shielded her from prosecution. After a painstaking review of thousands of messages, audio recordings, and testimony, prosecutors secured an arrest warrant in August 2022. Courtney, found in a Hawaiian rehab facility for PTSD and substance abuse treatment, was taken into custody and extradited to Miami. At a press conference, State Attorney Catherine Rundle labeled Christian the real victim of domestic violence, citing text messages where he basically predicted his own death.
Violence brings us directly to the reason we are here today, which is the killing of Christian Obumseli on April 3rd, 2022.
The courtroom battle quickly heated up. Courtney's lawyers fought to portray her as a victim of domestic violence, highlighting bruises and past incidents they claimed were proof of abuse.
This is like, I mean, I was sitting here in a freaking puddle of my boyfriend's blood, begging him to like, please not, like, freaking give up on me. Like, man, like, this shit is fucking serious.
In December 2022, a judge denied bail, keeping Courtney behind bars.
We have new developments in the OnlyFans model murder case against defendant Courtney Clenney. Her parents have now also been arrested in connection with the case.
According to the affidavit, Clenney's parents, Kim and Deborah, are accused of holding on to and accessing the laptop of Clenney's deceased boyfriend, Christian Obumseli.
Further complications arose when Courtney and her parents were briefly charged with tampering with Christian's laptop, allegedly hacking his password to erase or alter evidence. And therefore, suspicion deepened that she and her family were attempting to conceal incriminating material. Although the computer crime charges were later dropped due to legal technicalities, the question remained, what were they trying to hide? But then a definitive verdict remains on hold as the courts navigate extensive pretrial motions and an overwhelming amount of digital evidence. The prosecution argues Courtney's alleged pattern of abuse, from elevator beatings to racial slurs, reveals a consistent escalation. They highlight the medical examiner's conclusion that the stab wound was not from a knife tossed across a room, but rather a deliberate, forceful thrust.
I'm not an expert in knife throwing. If the person who supposedly did this is an expert knife thrower, and the knife is the type of knife that you can throw, I guess that could have happened.
Did you receive any information that the defendant was a knife thrower?
No.
So based on that fact that you did not receive that information, would it support that?
No.
On the other hand, the defense paints Christian as the abuser and Courtney as a trapped victim whose brutal language and actions were taken out of context or driven by intoxication and fear.
She was the victim here. She wanted to get up in the elevator and did not want him to come up to her apartment. That's why she was so frantic. And he pushes her way to gain access to her apartment. That elevator door opens up directly into their apartment.
They claim she had bruises, endured strangulation attempts, and therefore panicked on April 3rd, leading to a desperate act of survival. Meanwhile, Christian's grieving family attend every hearing, determined to see justice served. They filed a wrongful death suit against Courtney and the building management, arguing repeated warning signs were ignored.
Now, a civil lawsuit filed on behalf of the Obumseli estate is alleging that the building staff and building security were aware of Courtney Clenney's history of disturbances, her erratic and aggressive behavior, and recent mental health diagnosis before the day that Christian Obumseli was killed. And the allegation is that the security stood outside of the door during the fight that left Christian Obumseli dead.
No trial date has been set yet. If convicted of murder, Courtney faces the possibility of a long prison term, potentially even life. If she's found to have acted in genuine self-defense, she'll walk free, likely into a storm of public debate. The disturbing case of Courtney Clenney and Christian Obumseli has forced society to confront uncomfortable truths about domestic violence, social media's illusion of perfection, and the biases surrounding gender and race in abuse cases. While Courtney waits in a jail cell far from the luxurious world she once knew, Christian's family is left to mourn a life violently cut short and to fight relentlessly for the justice they believe he deserves.